I looked healthy, I looked strong, I had, visible abs and things like all the things we associate with being and healthy and fit, but my body it just didn't feel like that. I had pain. So wrong. That's not how the body works. When we think about how we move in everyday life, we don't just use our arms. So that in itself is really, really backwards to me that we still accept that. I think for women, this is really, really detrimental. Our hormones are so in tune to our environment.
Because then sometimes you go back to the things that you used to do, but you go back to it with wisdom.
Coming at it as your authentic self.
If it's not practical to simplify your whole life, can you simplify this moment? Can you just right now be like, okay, let me just take a pause. Let me pause this video. Let me just feel my body.
Wi-Fi and then I had to log in to my other email address, but we're here, it's fine.
Oh, okay. You don't have Wi-Fi. Okay, that's smart. I love
Yeah, no, we just hotspot off our phone. So we got a good contract on giffgaff and then just tend to hotspot off my phone. I just thought, you know what, it does the job. We don't really need Wi-Fi, so
Yeah.
just don't bother. Yeah.
Yeah, it works. It works. Love it. Love that. Living the message.
Exactly, yeah.
Let's do it. I'm really excited actually because I've been watching you. Like, and I scrolled through your Instagram today and I was like, this girl is strong. Like you are strong. I was really impressed. So yeah, loving all of it. And yeah, I want to discover your little world. So
It's like I've got all of these ideas in my head and
yeah.
obviously I speak with clients and things, so it's really nice to be able to now speak about them um,
Yeah.
and get all of these ideas out of my head. So yeah, really looking forward to it.
Okay, so welcome. This is called Tales of Transformation. And I've called it that because I'm basically talking to people who I think are doing life differently. So that might be in the health and wellness space, it might be in the financial space, holistic dentistry, and somehow I discovered Ashlie. And I want you to just tell us a little bit about what you do, just like, the blurb.
Yeah, the blurb, the summary.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I am a health and fitness coach. I have existed in the health and fitness industry for a very long time, both as a professional, and as a consumer, if you like. I kind of went down more of the traditional route, like most of us do in this space, right? Into the mainstream stuff, training as a traditional personal trainer, doing your bread and butter, deadlifts, that kind of thing. Did that for years. And then I ran into my own kind of health issues, and then that took me down the route of more kind of looking at the body holistically, thinking about movement completely differently rather than thinking of us as parts. I
Yeah.
then began to think of the body as a whole integrated system. That led me down the fascial route, so discovering fascia, and then ended up in a place of functional movement. So really thinking about, as I said, the body as a whole and getting people moving more functionally. The first was experimenting on myself. How can I apply this theory of the body as an interconnected unit and the fascia system? How can I come up with this movement system that works for me and get me out of my dysfunction and pain? And then how can I translate that to help other people? Yeah, so that's me in a nutshell, all about fascia and functional movement.
Okay. Amazing. So are you out of your dysfunction and your pain?
Yes, I'm still learning. I'm still experimenting. That will never stop. Every time I go to the gym, I see it as like a learning curve, or even just if I'm in the garden doing things or going out for a run or a walk, there's always new things that I'm discovering about my body and how I can get it to a better place. But yes, I'm definitely out of the pain that I was in for years. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Amazing. And when you were on this journey and you were doing your traditional PT work, and then you've worked out that you've got things going on in your body that weren't being fixed by the mainstream system, how did you actually find the functional movement space? Like, did you stumble upon it? Did you ask yourself the question, I think there's another way, let me actively go and look for it? How did that unravel?
Yeah, I think I just wasn't getting the answers, like you say, from the mainstream. I was doing all the things, I looked healthy, I looked strong, I had visible abs and things like all the things we associate with being and healthy and fit, but my body just it just didn't feel like that. I had pain, so I knew that I had to go down some other different route. And that's when I started discovering people like Tom Myers. So he is the king of fascia, and as I say, he looks at the body as an integrated system. And then that's when my mind started to open to these other things. There's other ways to move your body. There's other ways to train your body in a way that doesn't kind of lead to this pain and this dysfunction and putting excessive strain on certain areas when we do moves like, your bicep curls and that kind of thing.
Amazing. So you mentioned fascia.
Hmm.
What is it? What is fascia?
So, oh my gosh, where do I begin with fascia? Yeah. I think for me, so I look at fascia in the kind of structural element of fascia. I mean, I'm interested in fascia in all of its elements, but yeah, very much for me, I look at structure in fascia in how it holds the body together. So fascia is one connected system throughout our body. It's the connective tissue, so it literally holds everything together. It holds our bones in place, tendons, everything, muscles. It wraps each of our muscles, and it basically provides the structure of the body. So it gives the body our shape. And as we know, it's all interconnected. So we have different fascial lines throughout the body, and these are what helps us move. So we should have this smooth glide through the fascia, and that's what keeps our body upright and fully functioning and helps us to move. So yeah, in a nutshell.
In a
Obviously,
nutshell.
yeah, we can deep dive into fascia all day.
Yeah, I think that could be like a podcast by itself. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you did say that there are other functions and elements to fascia. Do you want to mention a few of the others so people can see how multifaceted it really is?
Yeah, absolutely. So fascia is it's where our fluids is. It's essential for transporting water around the body,
Yeah.
which essentially keeps our cells hydrated. It also is essential for cellular communication. So within fascia, we have like messenger molecules that help they kind of help our cells communicate. They help our brain communicate through our to our cells through our fascia, and it helps to deliver nutrients to our cells. So it's really really important for cellular health and communication. It's also important for taking waste away from the cells, so our immunity, lymph, all of this. So yeah, more. And obviously that's where movement ties in. So the more we can move and keep the fascia healthy and the flow of fluids, um, the more it's going to benefit the all of our health systems, not just yeah, not just movement and muscles and growth and strength and things like that.
That's wild. That's crazy. So it's not, it's even, so it's linked with all of the other systems, not just structurally, but also metabolically and the fluid move. So lymph. So it's linked with the lymph system. In fact, this is a very new topic to me. I think I only discovered that fascia existed about 18 months ago through Human Garage. And I was like, oh, wow, now everything makes a bit more sense.
Yeah,
And it kind of discredits everything I thought I knew.
yeah,
So it's this whole process of learning something new. And I love that there are people like you who are really like hone in on one specific area because no one can know everything. It's
yeah.
really hard.
Mhm.
And I think maybe some of us really try to, and it becomes very overwhelming. But
Mhm.
sometimes just going to someone that's really, really well versed on one particular thing helps you go, okay, based on what I know, how can I now weave that in as much as I can into what I'm already doing? Because
Yeah.
that's what a lot of people face, right? The overwhelm of, oh my God, now there's this other thing that I need to do. So I need to wake up and drain my lymph and do something with my fascia and blah, 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 and be in the sun and put my feet on the ground. It is a lot. It is a lot. So if someone was like a total beginner, they're listening to this and they've never even heard the word fascia before, what are three essential first steps you would encourage them to do to start engaging their fascia?
Yeah, I think the first one would be some kind of fascia release. So this is what I take people through first. Perhaps they have kind of fascia adhesions. So fascia adhesions is what happens when the fascia is not hydrated. So we're not getting this nice flow of fluids, and it becomes sticky and dehydrated. That's when we get these adhesions. That's when we get the pain, and perhaps it then becomes ingrained in our posture because we're getting this line of pull. So if people can adopt some kind of fascial release protocol where we're using like a lacrosse ball to apply pressure to areas of pain, that
Mm.
can really help to open the fascial fibers and bring in new hydration into that area. Yeah, so it is literally just a case of applying pressure to whichever part of your body, and there's fascia everywhere, so you really can do this anywhere on your body, on your calves, on your feet, on your quads. That is quite a painful area. Wouldn't start there first. Probably the
Yeah,
feet. Let's start with the feet.
yeah,
Um, and then, yeah, obviously you can go to the back and anywhere else. So that is definitely something, that's what I did on my journey. And that's what I encourage my clients to do is some kind of fascia release protocol. Um, if a ball is too much, you could literally just start with your hands, like kind of massaging your feet, feeling where there's kind of areas of tension going on in there. And then perhaps if that feels okay, you can move to a ball and then apply a bit more pressure there. Um, Second one would then be to just start moving. So start walking, start doing different movements. I think the issue that a lot of us run into, especially as adults, is that we just stop moving, we stop playing, we stop exploring.
yeah,
Right? Like when we're kids, we're always out, we're exploring, we're inquisitive, we're learning new things, we're using our body in different ways. And then unfortunately, as we get older, we don't tend to do that, and then the body just gets stiff. We stop moving it in all these different multi-dimensional ways, and then that's when we run into these problems. So the more you can move your body in different ways, running, walking, taking up new hobbies, gardening, all of these, dancing is a great one. You move your body in so many different ways, and it's fluid and it's free. So yeah, that would be another one. And then a third, did you say a third one as well?
yeah.
So a third one for a big element of this is hydration and diet. So, um, I am very much focused on movement, but we can't speak about fascial health and movement without the diet aspect. When we look at the fascia, it has this kind of jelly-like substance in it. And when we have a high sugar diet and we're over consuming a lot of sugar, that can actually translate into the connective tissue, and it literally becomes more sugary. It becomes more sticky, and then that's when we start to see this obstruction of fluids in the fascia, and it gets sticky and it creates these adhesions. That's when it starts to pull. We see our posture change, and then we see pain show up in the body. So definitely fascia protocol, so a fascia release protocol, moving in all different kinds of ways, and diet.
Love it. Love it. So when you say diet, the first primary thing that you've mentioned there is sugars. Get rid of processed sugars and processed foods in general, really, if you can. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Massage. Going for your Thai massage, going for your whatever sports massage. Is that a yes? Is that a thumbs up?
Um, yes, like those things can feel incredible, right? They're really good for getting the body moving and getting that flow of fluids.
Yeah.
However, if we have um adhesions in the fascia, so
Yeah.
these like little bits of tissue buildup, the pressure from a massage is not going to be enough to alleviate those adhesions. So that's when we need to start bringing in tools like our Theracane. I should show you. So this is a Theracane that I use, and you can kind of like do this, put it on your back, and it actually like addresses, it pinpoints the adhesions in the fascia. So we can use tools like that, and as I say, like the cross balls. And the key is that we're really applying pressure to the point of pain or the adhesion.
Okay, so when you say adhesions, is that the same thing that they refer to when they say you've got knots? Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Most people think, oh, it's a muscle knot. It's actually
Mm,
not. It's in the fascia.
yeah. And so you, in your understanding of it, you think these adhesions can be fully resolved, but it takes time and a process.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, they can absolutely be resolved.
Yeah.
Uh, it's just where that tissue has become sticky and it's lacking hydration. So all we need to do is apply pressure and encourage the tissues to open up, and then the fluid can flow back in, and then we've got the nice smooth glide of the fascia back.
Amazing. Do you recommend supplements for hydration of the fascia? Is there anything that you think would help? Because I know Human Garage does. So I wondered what your point of view on that was.
No, so I don't really take any supplements. I believe
Mm,
if you have a good diet,
yeah,
you get everything you need from that.
yeah,
Um, we know that fascia is it's abundant in collagen.
yeah.
So the more kind of animal products we can eat, and if you can't, maybe put in like some kind of um is it like gelatin? You can get like the gelatin powders and things like that. So I often do that. Like I'll make sauces or even
Mm,
like bone broth
bone
and things
broth,
like
yeah,
that. So anything that encourages collagen building in the body, yes to that, but not necessarily supplements. It's not something that I would personally recommend. Yeah, just a healthy diet. I'm very minimal in my
yeah,
approach to
yeah,
movement, to diet, to lifestyle. I live a very minimal, quiet life, and it works for me. And I know and I know it would work for a lot of other people as well if they just strip back rather than kind of keep building.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I can see that you're doing just very basic things that we were created to do.
Yeah.
We weren't, I mean, even in terms of the pace of life that
Mm.
a lot of us are, have signed up for, including myself. I do a crazy amount of driving. And I'm
Yeah.
driving and I'm like, I know this isn't good for me. I
Mm.
know this isn't good for me. And, making choices and cutting my hours, etc. But then you cut the money and then you're in that vicious cycle of, okay, oh, it's scary. It's scary, but I can see and I know what works. And so it's making choices in alignment with that, isn't it? And it sounds like you're kind of in that realm. So we love it.
Yeah, that's it. It's being happier with less as well. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And I think I've been there. I actually used to work in marketing.
Mm,
So I was an office girl. I've been there. I've been chasing those things, and
yeah.
I thought it would lead to more happiness and this picture of what I thought success was, but unfortunately it didn't. Like a lot of us find, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's it. It's just becoming happier with less and just appreciating nature and being outside and yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Love it. What would you say is one fitness or movement myth that is very widely accepted that you want to bust?
Ooh. Well, yeah, a few. Which one's best? I think that we have to do more, that there's always more. We have to be working out constantly, right? Like we have to go to the gym, we have to structure our workouts, we have to do one day on arms, next day on back, next we're doing legs, then it's glute day. Like, I just think that that is so wrong. That's not how the body works. When we think about how we move in everyday life, we don't just use our arms.
Yeah.
We just use the glutes. That's not how the body functions. So that in itself is really, really backwards to me that we still accept that.
Yeah.
And then again, just the fact of why are we working out so much? I see people in the gym that they're going to the gym 5, 6 times a week, or going out for runs and doing like really intense hit workouts and things like that. And I think for women, this is really, really detrimental.
Mm.
Our hormones are so in tune to our environment and how we're treating our body. And I think a lot of the times that these workouts are coming from a place of almost like punishment, or they feel they feel they have to do these workouts because they don't love their body. They're in a
Mm.
place of they don't love it, so they have to punish it and they have to do these brutal workouts to get some kind of change in their body. And I think that in itself is the problem. The more we do these things and the more we're overstressing the body, we're overworking the muscles, the more it leads to these kind of hormonal issues and things like that, especially for women. Whereas I come from because I've been there, right? Like I know I've been in that place where I've been going to the gym and it causes this kind of stress, fight or flight situation in the body. Whereas now I've learned to engage my body better. I know how to move better. I don't feel that need to constantly go to a gym and overwork my muscles because I feel that when I do get that one or two workouts a week that I'm more in it. I'm engaging my muscles more. I'm getting more for less, if you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And I think a lot of women don't know this, that they should be navigating their movement and their workouts based on their cycle.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, 100%. And I think that's the thing when once you become more intuitive to your body and to your cycle, you will know what it needs and what it doesn't need, you know? Like the gym almost repulses me like a few days before my period. I'm just like,
Yeah,
no, that is not where I want to be, you know?
yeah,
So
yes.
yeah, I think if people can just get to that place where they're really in tune with their body, I think they won't feel the need to constantly work out or constantly push their bodies.
Yeah. And I mean, I would say the first thing I did was, looking at the app or knowing when the bleed was coming and just simplifying that week.
Yeah, yeah,
No MMA that week, no nothing that week. Like if I can, try not schedule work in, not schedule calls in, give yourself that time to really release and really see what's coming up because it kind of gives you the wisdom that you need for the next month.
yes, absolutely. It's like a reset button, isn't it? It's like a time to come inwards, to reflect, to rest, to nurture the body, to tell you that we love you, rest,
Yeah.
walk, reflect, and then it prepares us for the next phase where we can go a bit more high energy. We can start to build in a bit more strength.
Yeah.
So, yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Love that. How would you, okay, let's say someone's like, wait, what? We do what now with our cycles? And she's been like going hard every week and doing whatever she's doing in the gym. What's like a general arc that you would suggest across the phases of the cycle? How would you kind of map it out as a not a bespoke plan, but just a general one for every woman?
Yeah. So, follicular phase. So, this is probably like day depends. Some people don't really like to do much on their period. I I'm like that on my first day of my period, so I'm just like, no, I'm gonna just rest. Second
Yeah.
day, I'm pretty much I'm good to go again.
Okay.
Some people it's third day, some people it might be fourth day. But from there, that's when you want to start doing more of your high energy work. So estrogen is rising. This is what it gives us energy. It makes us feel good. It makes us feel confident. So this is when we want to start really honing in on that, getting in the gym or going for some runs, those really like high energy workouts. Um, and then that's through to ovulation. So through to ovulation, we have that nice high estrogen rise. And again, around ovulation, you might feel that you feel a bit stronger. So you might want to start including some weights or, I love cable machines and things like that. So I start to up the weight and get a bit more kind of strength and power into it.
Yeah.
Um, After ovulation, I start to taper things down a little bit. So the week, so maybe for me, it's like day 15 to 19 will be my like ovulation. And then after that, I'll probably start tapering down a little bit, still going to the gym, but just doing like lighter work, maybe just refining the areas. So rather than thinking about power, full out strength, I'm just working on like refinement, like how can I connect with my glutes again, or how can I think about my feet and things like that. Um, and then as I approach my period, so this will be like a week or a few days before, I'm really starting to tapering down. So I'm thinking more, like long walks, sauna, resting, maybe
Mm.
going in the garden, and sometimes my body wants to go to the gym and perhaps get a little movement depending on what my week's been like. But usually I just don't really want to go to the gym. It's not something I want to do. I just want to come inwards, reflect, and yeah, just do those lighter movements.
Amazing. There you go, guys. There's your roadmap. And it's a good place to start, right? Because then the more you do it, the more you can hear the messages of your own body and then refine that even further. Like maybe some people would want to rest for more of their period. For them that would work, etc. So I think it's a great place to start. Thank you so much for that.
And it's just giving your body permission. I think that was a really big thing for me when I wasn't really in tune with my cycle and things like this. I would almost get annoyed at myself because
Mm,
my body couldn't do what it could do in follicular phase when I was in luteal phase. But it's really just changing the mindset and just giving your body permission. And this is what I say to women I work with, like, don't beat yourself up that you can't do the same throughout your cycle. It's how we are designed. You can't keep that level throughout your whole month. So just give your body permission. Don't beat yourself up. It's fine.
yeah,
We'll come back stronger and fresher next week.
exactly. It's only a week away. Yeah. In that, you mentioned refinement and maybe different parts of your body, and you mentioned feet. And I've said to you, you have like feet goals, like feet to die for. And it really looks like you've worked on them because your feet didn't always look like that.
No.
Tell us about the importance of widespread toes, what that means for health, and how someone can maybe just generally move their feet in that direction.
Yeah, so most of us have feet that are very dysfunctional, and we can blame this on shoes, unfortunately. And this
Yeah.
starts when we are very young, and our mums put us in squishy shoes that squeeze our toes. And then this causes the feet to become narrow. We almost get like a toe amnesia where we can't, our brain has like lost connection to the toes. So then they're not like fully participating in movement. Um, so yeah, the way that I like to get back to full foot function is by going barefoot. So really taking the shoes off and training whatever you're doing, running. Obviously, it's a bit harder if you're outside, but if you're on grass, things like that, really, really good for going barefoot. Also in the gym. So if you're training in the gym, get the shoes off and really start to feel the feet. That's the thing that when we wear shoes and trainers with a lot of cushioning, they kind of cheat us out of using our own feet, right? It's a comfort. And
Yeah.
when that happens, the muscles in the feet become weak. And then this is where it starts to really impact the rest of the body. So the feet have a true holding power on the position of the body. If we find that our feet are flat, so where the arches have perhaps collapsed, that's really, yeah,
So
yeah.
bad.
So that will consequently affect the position of the knees and then the hips. So
Yeah.
the hips may drop. And then we may find that we have this kind of anterior tilt situation where the arches are no longer supporting our deep front line, which is a fascial line. This can then affect the spine. So if the hips are out of alignment, how is this going to then position the spine? We can go even higher. How is this going to then affect the rib cage and our breathing? And then how is that going to affect the position of the head? So the feet are so crucial to the overall positioning of our body. And not just the arches, as I said, like the position of the toes and what the toes are doing, how the toes are supporting us in movement as well. So it's so essential that we have that nice toe spread. So we've got stability when we stand. Um, yeah, and as we know that the feet are fascially connected all the way up to the toe, up to the tongues. So it's, as I said, it's really helping to provide that strong structural integrity throughout the body and keep us upright.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, going barefoot. That's the thing. Like, take your shoes off. I even do it in clinic now in between patients. I just take my shoes off and sit there and, just feel the floor.
Yeah.
Um, because if you're in between patients, you're writing up your note. I just want that, even that proprioception, like being like, oh, there's the floor. Like,
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah. What about these little toe spready things that you can put in between your toes? Is that a win or a lose?
Yeah, I think if you're just beginning on the journey, so I definitely used them when I was kind of transitioning from normal shoes to barefoot life. It just helps you train that wide toe spread, which is what we're trying to kind of ingrain in the posture. Now I don't wear them so much because I've got that connection. I know how my toes should be spreading and moving when I'm in the gym or when I'm moving. So don't really use them so much now. But yes, if you're definitely like at the beginning of your journey, they can be a really useful tool to help you get that nice toe spread.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so just don't make the mistake that I did and wear them for hours because my toes went blue because I just had them. I had
Okay.
them on for too long and they just like restrict your blood. So,
Okay.
so yeah, just when you're moving or just wear them for half an hour and slowly build it up.
Okay. Awesome. We definitely need circulation. It's
Yeah.
essential. Yeah. You spoke a little bit about dysfunctional breathing.
Mm.
Do you want to tell us more about what functional breathing would look like
Yeah.
and how people tend to breathe and why it's not good for you?
Yeah. So, yeah, breathing is so important. So, again, when I take my clients through my coaching program, the two things I start with is the breath and the fascia release protocol. So, the breath is really essential. Again, it has a huge impact on the position of our body. Um, because if you think of our rib cage, it comes all the way round to our back, and that has a lot of holding power on the position of our spine. So what happens when we don't effectively use the diaphragm and the rib cage is that this area becomes very restricted and we may start kind of caving in like this and it may pull on the shoulders. Yeah. What I find is that a lot of people breathe through the upper chest, not just in movement, but in everyday life. And then what happens is that the diaphragm is not being used, right? So it's getting restricted. It's building up all of that fascia that's becoming restricted there. So what I like to do is take people through a diaphragm release protocol where we actually go in under the rib cage quite deep and really try and get to release the restrictions going on there. This then allows people to fully use the capacity of the diaphragm. So when we take a breath in, the diaphragm descends down. That allows the rib cage to fully expand. And then when we take an exhale, it comes back up and our rib cage goes back in. And what we're looking for in the optimal breath is this kind of side to side motion of the rib cage, but also this front to back. So this is the area I find that a lot of people just they don't have because they've got a lot of restriction through the back, through the back fascia that doesn't allow that rib cage to fully expand. So yeah, if we can definitely take a good fascia release protocol through the diaphragm, through the back to really allow the rib cage to expand, that is going to be so essential to getting people breathing more optimally and then essentially fixing the posture.
Mm. I do find also that how we breathe also impacts the pelvic floor. I mean, everything impacts everything, right? But I've noticed like if the pelvic floor is like, that hypertonic kind of tight feeling, which often happens with a lot of sitting and driving, etc. Just changing intentionally the way you're breathing helps things like actually let yourself breathe and not hold your belly in, which I think a lot of women do. Like, it's okay, just like let it happen. It just almost relaxes the pelvic floor. Are
Yeah.
you able to speak more on that? Because it's like I've noticed that, but I don't necessarily understand the mechanism of how that's happening.
Yeah, yeah, I've not so much looked into the pelvic floor specifically. I know that when you breathe, when you take that inhale down and you're fully using that diaphragm, it acts as a balloon. and that creates like a downward pressure on the abdomen area, and that helps to stabilize the spine, and it will help to stabilize everything down there as well. Um, and also just the fact that it those deep breaths really tap into our like rest and digest state, right? So the more we can really use the full capacity of the lungs and the diaphragm, the more we're tapping into the parasympathetic nervous system and encouraging everything to relax. And we're really speaking to like the internal organs as well. So what's going on with our breath is really going to have an impact on our internal organs and our digestive system and things like that. So
Yes.
yeah, it goes much wider than just breathing. It has such an impact on our kind of overall emotional state, and then our internal organs and how they function, and our digestive system as well.
Yeah. That's a really good angle to look at it from. Yeah. The impact that it's having on the nervous system and how that creates that relaxation.
Yeah.
This piece around not having time when people are like, it's just another thing to do. I don't have time. And you've explained three ways of working on the fascia as a basic starting point. And you also mentioned that you really simplified your life.
Yeah.
What was the first thing you did to start walking that path of simplification and being happier with less?
Oh, yeah. That's a loaded question. Um, In terms of fitness and health, or
Anything, whatever your interpretation is, like
yeah,
go at it from that angle. Yeah.
yeah. Um, yeah, gosh, I think it was a whole mindset change. As I said, it was being happier with less and not striving for the things that didn't bring me happiness.
Yeah.
Um, and it's having that experience of achieving those things and then realizing, okay, that didn't bring me happiness.
Yeah.
So what is going to bring me happiness? And then it's going back to those things that when you think of when you're young and what brought you happiness then, it was just going outside, right? It was having connections with your friends, and it was being outside and exploring, right? Like that's innate in us. That is built into us. So it was kind of like getting back to those things, and then it just snowballed from there. Like, okay, so what else can I cut from my life? Like, do I need all these excess things? Like, I used to be really into like fashion and things like that, and even though those things are fun, and
Mm.
did I really need it? Was it really bringing me happiness, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, and then how does that translate to everything else in your life? Are these things that I'm doing in the gym, how are they actually contributing to making me healthier, or are they just causing more dysfunction and things like that? So yeah, really thinking about stripping it down rather than keep adding to the stresses. I think that's it, just being more minimal with everything.
Mm. Yeah. Wow. It's a journey. It's like
It is.
a forever journey.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Because then sometimes you go back to the things that you used to do, but you go back to it with wisdom as
Mm,
well, and you don't need it. You do it because it's like, okay, well, this is nice, and it's nice to dip in and just experience this and then go away from it. Um, and I can't necessarily say I'm speaking for myself here because I've never been. I went 5 years of dental school without drinking. I don't drink. I wasn't a party girl. I was like, nope, I am not interested. So it's like I feel like sometimes people that know me are like, yeah, but Roger, you've never really done anything bad anyway. You've always been the good girl. And I'm like, yes, but sometimes I do like to go and dance,
yeah,
right? But it's like bringing in like that childlikeness so you're not soaking in that because before it was like ew so repulsive, everyone's so drunk and like all over each other, but it's like no, I'm going there as like a playground and dance and play, and then it's enriching, it's enlivening.
yes,
So
yeah,
even if you are from a more simple angle like as your baseline, it's like well how can you do the things that other people do but with the aliveness that you come with the it works both ways. It's really interesting. Life
yeah.
is so fun if you come at it from that. Like you said, like being a child and being like, oh, I wonder what this would be like if I bring all of me into this.
Yeah. Yeah. And not having those kind of um not having your mind clouded, it's just coming at it as your like authentic self. Um Actually a really good example of this the other day. I was just driving home, and we live in the countryside, so we're just surrounded by like beautiful fields. And there was a moment where I drove past a field and there were just two horses in the field, and it was so beautiful that it made me cry. It actually brought me to tears simply because it was so beautiful. No other reason. And I
Mm.
just thought I reflected on that, and I just thought I could only feel that because
Yeah.
my mind was not clouded by stupid things that I used to think about, like, oh, so and so did this at work today, or oh, I said something stupid, like my mind
Yeah.
just wasn't clouded. It was just so authentically me, and I just felt so aligned to my surroundings that I was able to then appreciate that beauty. Yeah.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I feel very grateful that I know what you're talking about.
Yes, yeah. You can resonate.
Because not everyone gets it. And
Yeah,
it's like it's sad. It's like you don't need to do that. Like this, can you not see how amazing this moment that cost absolutely nothing really is?
yeah, yeah. And then that's it. And then that's where I don't need to drink. I don't really drink alcohol because I feel I don't need to. I
You
don't
don't, yeah.
I don't need all these extra things. It's the world around us when you can appreciate it is it's beautiful in itself. You don't need all of these extra things.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just us.
That's just us. Yeah. These adult children
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
I was having a look at your Instagram and you were explaining how um, you don't necessarily believe in these like stretches and, holding stretches for a long period of time. And I've heard that a few times and I understand and I kind of intuitively feel like you're right. But I also wonder how one would maintain and improve that flexibility without doing it that way. Like, what is the other way?
Yeah. So the other way, well, firstly, when we look at stretching, stretching isn't bad, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
not saying
Yeah, yeah.
don't stretch at all. It's when it becomes chronic and excessive. So when we're doing it too much and then we're not balancing it with the contraction
Okay.
and the strengthening. Okay.
Yeah.
So definitely not bad. If we feel the need to stretch because a muscle or fascia or whatever we want to refer to it as is tight, then it's likely there's some dysfunction going on there.
Mhm.
Instead, I encourage people to release fascia. So if they do have like a perceived tightness, it's likely that the fascia has become restricted. So we need to go in and do a little bit of fascia release there. Um, once we've got like a kind of clean slate, as I like to think of it, like a nice, all the tissue is open, we don't have any restrictions, then we can start to stretch the body through movement. And when I say stretch the body through movement, what I mean is that we are doing like loaded stretches. So if you think about what happens when we go to pick something off of the floor, we stretch our hamstrings, right? But then immediately we contract the hamstrings to help us bring that object back up. So
Hmm.
we're not just in a forward fold or a splits and we're passively stretching the tissue, the fascia. That can then cause it to become non-responsive. Over time, it will keep stretching and stretching the fascia,
Hmm.
and it kind of won't go back. It won't recall because fascia has an elastic property, so it won't go back to its normal range, which then can have catastrophic implications on our posture.
Yeah.
If we can stretch our muscles or stretch our fascia in a way that applies to everyday life in a way that's functional, that is a much better way of stretching. So through actively loading.
Okay. So we're not like an X to stretching. wear an extra stretching if that's the only thing you do. So it comes back to this piece around move in all sorts of different ways.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, have your stretching session in the evenings, but in the morning, go for that walk, go for that jog. And then maybe in the afternoon, go do a little bit at the gym, but ask your body what it needs.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, that's it. Because I've been in that place where I have tipped the balance more towards overstretching and
Yeah.
doing too much stretching, and
Yeah.
that's where I ran into a lot of those situations where my hamstrings were too lengthened and they couldn't contract properly, which then affected my gait and how I was walking, which then affected the back and everything else. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's having that balance and not overdoing it.
Mm. So I had a look at functional patterns, that whole
Yeah.
Instagram, well, it's beyond Instagram, isn't it? They have an Instagram page, but it's like a philosophy. And they talk a lot about walking, standing, running, and throwing. Are you able to tell us a little bit more about how those things are important and maybe a foundational piece to then build all the other things on top of? If I have that correct, I may have completely misunderstood.
Yeah. I love functional patterns. Yeah, I think Naudi actually studied Tom Myers fascial trains. So yeah, our theories are very much aligned. I also believe that we are, as you say, we are meant to, humans are built for walking and for running. And if we compare that to our primate cousins, our hips and our center of gravity is completely different. Our feet are closer to our central line of gravity, which allows us to walk and stand on one leg, which is essential for sprinting and walking and things like that. Um, so as we then came upright and stood on two legs, it freed our arms. So then this is where the like throwing thing comes in. If you look at how our fascial lines are built and how our shoulders are built, it allows us to kind of spiral and throw. So yes, definitely anything we can do to optimize our gait, so our walking patterns, our sprinting, and the throwing ability of the shoulder, then yes, that's going to set us up for good biomechanics, good posture, and no pain, which is what we all want. So
Mm.
I like to keep my training like 80% functional. So that means, as I said, like checking in with these areas, make sure I'm optimizing like my rotation, which is an essential part of walking, making sure the glutes are stabilizing my hips, which again is essential part of walking, because what happens when we walk is that we spend 80% of the time on one leg. That's a lot of time, right? When you think about that, when
Mm.
you think about walking, it feels so effortless to us, right? But actually we're on one leg for 80% of the time. So that needs a lot of stability from the legs and the glutes, right? So we really need to optimize the function of the glutes to help us do that. And unfortunately, it's an area that a lot of people struggle with. We just do not have um the stability through the glutes. So that's a really important area. And then anything we can do again to optimize the kind of throwing aspect of our biomechanics with the rotational exercise is really going to set us up for good movement. So yeah.
Yeah. I'm just like, I love this. I love it. What if someone was just like, okay, cool. So do I just start throwing things? Do I like pick up a ball? Like it's very random, like because it's like sometimes you're like, okay, well, I'll just do it. I'll just go pick up a ball and start throwing it. And there's people like me that are perfectionists and like I'm not going to do it unless I know exactly how it's meant to be done and someone's watching me and and some people will just go and do things. Is there a way of doing it wrong, or is it better that you just start doing it and see what happens?
It depends. It really depends where we're at. Yeah.
Mm.
Yes, if we've got a dysfunction-free, pain-free body, then yes, absolutely. Like these are our primal movements. These are what we should be doing as humans. Even if we don't do it in our everyday lives, this is our blueprint. This is what we're designed for. However, if we're coming from a place like I was where my movement wasn't functional, my body wasn't functional, I had a lot of pain,
Yeah.
then really had to strip it back. I had to go back to basics. I had to learn how to engage the feet, how to be able to stand on one leg and stabilize myself, how to rotate my upper body independently from the hips. So it was like breaking down all these areas and then building it back up. So now I'm at the point where I can start optimizing my sprint and things like that. But it's taken years, you know, this isn't an overnight thing. It takes a while. So
Yeah.
yeah, answer is depends where you're at, which I know
Yeah. Yeah.
always
Yeah.
helpful, but yeah.
Yeah. But that's the case with everything, right? If your finances are a mess and you're trying to improve them, you know where you want to go, but where are you starting from? If your relationship is a mess and you want to improve it, okay, cool, you know where you want to go, but where are you starting from? It's always the most important piece. It's like really understanding where you're at. Like, where does it hurt? When does it hurt when it's hurting? How long does it hurt for? Etc., etc. So, and that comes down to that piece that you were talking about of simplifying. And if that doesn't, if it's not practical to simplify your whole life, can you simplify this moment? Can you just right now be like, okay, let me just take a pause. Let me pause this video. Let me just feel my body. Like, okay, how does it feel when I'm breathing? Breathing, am I breathing too fast? Does it feel uncomfortable somewhere? Does my toe hurt? Like doing a body scan, like actually feeling the inside of your body and like the sensations that are always happening and are completely ignored. Sometimes the simplification is just where you're at.
Absolutely. And I've, you know,
Yeah.
I've clients that it's not always the issue that they're not moving or not doing enough. It's that they're doing too much, but of the wrong thing. And, you know, I'm talking about clients that come to me and they're serious lifters, like they're lifting heavy weights in the gym. They're doing deadlifts or squats with massive amount of weight. And then I ask them to stand on one leg and slightly rotate the body and they just cannot do it, you know? And it's really refining these basics and then building up from there.
Yeah. I'm like, I just want to quit everything and like just work on my body.
I was there,
Why
definitely.
not? Why not? Hey, why not? Oh, so one thing, okay, so let me ask you some questions that are really personal to me. So obviously you can see that I do MMA and I love it, addicted. Love it so much because there is so many different types of movement in it, right? You're striking, you're kicking, you're like there's the jiu-jitsu piece, etc. There's so much to it. But what I've noticed is that when I need to rely on just one leg, like a spin kick, for example,
Yes.
completely lose balance.
Yeah.
That's a symptom. Like
Mhm.
that is telling me something. And I've sat with it and I'm like, okay, I can feel that my hips are unstable. I've noticed that there's pain on one side. I've noticed that I'm developing this kind of posture because when you ask, you kind of like this. So it's intentionally being like, okay, if I'm like that in class, I've really got to like make sure after I come out, I'm stretching everything out and I'm doing the opposite. Would you say that's a wise way of managing it at this early stage?
Yes, definitely. When those kind of positions become chronic, that's
Mm,
that's when they get stuck in the fascia.
yeah,
So if you can do anything to consciously undo that, then yes,
yeah,
absolutely. Like one of my clients had super locked out knees. So she had, we call it like banana knees, where they kind of almost go, they're like hyperextended, they kind
yeah.
of go backwards. And
Mm,
really do much except for I said to her, just be conscious of not locking out your knees when you stand. And she'd often stand on one leg and then put the other leg on top of the other and then really like lock it out. And I said, just having that conscious awareness of your posture and undoing those things will go such a long way. And lo and behold, within a couple of months, those knees had started to come back to where they should be. And we hadn't really even done much exercise. So yes, absolutely. The more you can be conscious of those those posture habits,
mm.
then yeah, definitely. We don't want them to become, it's when it becomes chronic.
Yeah, yeah. And this is where the intuition comes in and being present, right? Because you can spot things when they're being created.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The body is so intelligent. Um, if you tune into it, it knows what to do, you know, and
Yeah.
it will have all these mechanisms in our body. Like we have certain mechanisms that will contract the muscle if it's too stretched in movement, and then that protects us. It stops the tissue and whatever else from tearing. So the body is really incredible. We just really have to tune into it.
Yeah. Wow. I'm like letting it integrate. I'm like, this is wisdom. You were speaking earlier about the elasticity that is inherent to fascia. And, I've seen videos, not recently, but just through life, of maybe people in tribes deep in Africa and they can jump. It is wild. It's like supernatural. Is that something that we all have the capacity for? Is that coming from the fascial function? How do we train that?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. So elastin is one of the main properties of fascia, and that's what gives it its spring-like ability. So if you think of a band, when we pull it, it then recoils backwards. And
Mhm.
then that's what happens in our Achilles. So when you see those guys jumping, they're really using minimal muscle contraction. So it saves a lot of energy because muscle work is really expensive, right?
Mm.
However, that fascial recoil doesn't cost anything. It's basically a band expanding and then coming back. So it's like free energy. So the more we can train that, the more we are going to stay bouncy as we get older. So that is the other thing. We lose it as we age. So if you think about what happens when a 5-year-old falls over compared to a 70-year-old, right? The 5-year-old bounces back because they
Yes.
have that ability in their tissue to bounce back, to come back up. They're elastic, they're bouncy, they're springy. Where
Yeah.
we lose that as we get older, the older person isn't going to come back up so well, right? So the more we can walk in barefoot, is one of the ways we can train that elasticity because we're using the force, the ground reaction of the floor to bounce us back up and spring us back up. Um, Running barefoot is another one, and then just like bouncing, jumping is so good for training that elasticity property in our fascia. And then we can look at the stretching element to it. So again, not overstretching. The
Mm.
more we stretch and stretch and stretch the fascia, the more it doesn't come back. So the more that elastic band doesn't recoil, right? So yeah, it's all of these things combined that will help us, that helps keep that fascia nice and springy.
Amazing. Yeah. I'm just like loving it. Loving it, loving it.
Bouncing, barefoot, walking, sprinting, yeah, all of those things. So good.
So good. I've seen that there's like a specific way we should really be sprinting. Like there's a way to engage your feet or allow the landing of the feet on the ground. Are you able to talk through that a little bit?
Yeah, so when we sprint, we really need to think about our connection with the ground, right? We need our feet to fully come into contact with the ground. This is why I like barefoot. I don't like cushioning, anything like that. We need that full placement of the feet on the floor, and then we need to be able to use the floor to push away. This is what drives us forward. This is what helps us excel to move forward. And when we look at the biomechanics, we need to understand what is driving that force. And it's a transfer of force from the ground to the feet and then up through the body. So we need to think of these fascial lines and how we're effectively transferring that force up the body. And the glute is a really powerful kind of mid station with this. So the glute, so we have lines of fascia that spiral from the opposite glute or hip to
Hmm.
the opposite shoulder.
Yeah.
When the left hip comes forward, the right shoulder comes forward, and that this is kind of like a spiral rotational mechanism, and that really helps us transfer that force up the feet through the spiral line and then drive us forward. Again, it's like a coil, it's like a band. It
Mm.
winds up and then it releases and drives us forward. So again, we really need to think of walking and sprinting as not just the legs, it's a whole body thing.
Yeah. What about barefoot shoes if someone's like living in a really dirty area or like sharp stones or whatever? We are we into that? What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, barefoot shoes. I love barefoot shoes. I wear Vivos. Yeah, absolutely. They are really good. Great if we're running outside, walking outside, definitely be in your barefoot shoes. And then if you can take them off every once in a while, perhaps when you're walking or
Yeah,
when you're at the gym and training, just to have that connection with the floor.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, barefoot shoes is a great way to go if we can't be barefoot.
amazing. What
And,
about
and barefoot socks as well. So I don't know if
Mm.
you can see, but I've got. So I find that actually non-barefoot socks still have a
Yeah,
depends what you get. If they're slightly big and loose, they're not so much. But I used to wear a lot of like the Nike kind of sports socks, and they still squish your toes. So
yeah,
if you find something a bit looser, or even like toe socks that really allow the toes to move, then that's another step as well that is really that will go hand in hand with the barefoot shoes.
amazing.
Or if you don't want to go completely barefoot in the gym, just get your toe socks on.
Yeah. Yeah, start a conversation. People will definitely look at your toes and they'll be like, so tell me more.
Yeah, honestly, I've had all sorts of comments. Like people are like, "Why have you got gloves on your feet?"
Yeah, love that. Um, Pregnant women,
Hmm.
can they still do these things? I expect the answer is yes. How would you just generally advise them to um, modify it to suit their body as it grows and changes?
Yeah, so we need to be careful of the stomach, so we're not obviously overstraining that area. So there are definitely things we can do. Still, rotational exercises are super important. That helps to get the spine movement, um, and it helps to support the spine as well. So if we look at what happens when we start to grow a baby, we obviously our weight is in the front of our body, so then it puts a lot of stress on the spine, and we may see the kind of hips coming forward, and we may experience this anterior tilting situation going on. So anything we can do to support the spine throughout the pregnancy is going to be really helpful, but obviously not pushing it, not doing crazy core stuff.
Yeah.
And then through, I'm not sure which week exactly it is or around which time, but we start to become more lax, our joints become more flexible. So we need to be careful of movements that take us in a bigger range, basically. So just stripping that down a little bit and not taking our body into those longer ranges.
Yeah. Okay, beautiful. That's a good one. That's a good one. I always ask a pregnancy related question because I feel like that's a topic that might not always get addressed because there's so many changing needs at that time.
Yes,
Yeah.
female body is incredible and it does everything to keep the life inside of us alive. So yeah.
Yeah. Do you need a gym membership or can all of this be done without one?
Hmm. Yeah, I don't think you need a gym membership. Like it's not necessary. I've got clients that do not have a gym membership. Um, I do like to use certain tools. So I do love a cable machine, and that is a good thing about a gym.
Mm.
But you can always compromise. You can use bands, right? Hook it up to a tree anywhere and just go outside and get some bands. You can get a very similar movement to the cable machine. Um, but if you're at the stage where you know, your body is good and you don't have many dysfunctions, then absolutely you can go outside. Sometimes I just go to the park and I find some random logs and I just chuck those around and then I do hill sprints up the hill and things like that. So yes, like our environment, there are so many things we can do in our environment, and it's probably more of a natural environment rather than the gym. I prefer the gym for things like if we are coming from a place where we have a bit of dysfunction and we're trying to work on corrective exercises and things like that. Sometimes just having that, if we've got a certain weight on the cable machine, we know we can kind of build that each week, progressive overload. So it's like having those structured things in the gym. Um, but yeah, definitely not necessary for long term.
There you go, guys. It costs nothing.
Exactly.
Costs nothing.
Go to the
Um,
park with some logs.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Even like, I mean, I spend a lot of time with my nephews, and like sometimes I mean, the older one's 8 now. I do sometimes lift him up. I mean, he's almost my height. I'm tiny and he's tall, so it's like it's quite funny. But with the younger one, I'm like, it's such a habit, right, to hold your kids like this. And I've really noticed, the impact it has. So it's like if you've got kids, like change how you hold them differently, wrap your kids, hold them in that way. Because that seems very ancestral. I feel like people have done that for thousands of years, wearing their children. Do you have anything to add?
I don't think so. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I was just gonna say, like with bags and things like that, like it's a
Yeah.
similar, always wearing a bag on one side, like swap to the other side. Same with like everyday things like brushing your teeth, like literally just use your other hand just so you're not overusing the muscles in that side. And yeah, bit of a tangent.
Yeah. 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 So I think the underlying theme is variety.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. The more that's the thing, the body adapts, right? So if you're
Yeah.
the more you do something on one side, the body is going to think, oh, okay, so we need to support the body on this side. So we're going to create more fascia, and then the tissue becomes denser, right? And then that's when we may start to experience pain. The fluids can't flow, and then we get this kind of posture where we're like this. It's just the body always trying to protect itself, to do whatever it can to keep you upright and functioning.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
variety.
Variety. Variety is key. Okay, so a few kind of like bonus questions. Because obviously you live and you're aspiring to live a really circadian healthy lifestyle. You're weaving in sunlight and sun exposure into your movement and the way you eat, the fabrics you're wearing. I know we had a little DM exchange around wearing natural fabrics. Do you want to speak a little bit about those other elements and how it really supports the health of your body structurally, metabolically, and in all of those little ways?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is so important. We can't speak about fascial health without speaking about all of these other things. Like I said, the diet, the sun, circadian health, um, mindset, all of these things. Yeah, I've been on this whole journey of circadian health, and it's something that I definitely help clients with because I think it has such an impact on our fascia and how our body functions. We know how much our body is in tune with the light cycles and how what we receive from the sun, just the energy that we get from the sun is so important for um, not just our overall health, but also our movement. I always find that if I'm
Yeah.
moving outside, this is why I always try and do my workouts like outside because I just get so much energy from being outside, from having the light in my eyes or the sun on my skin. And I'm still on this journey of learning about it and how is it melatonin in the skin helps you actually like generate and creates energy. So again, this all feeds into our movement and how this helps keep us moving and healthy and feeds us energy. So yeah, definitely a huge part of it. Um, the fabrics is a really big thing because uh, in the sports industry, in the kind of fitness industry that I exist in, everything is polyester. Everything is these like tight, restrictive leggings and tops and things like that. And again, it's just one of those things that do we really need that? Do we need to feel compressed? I think the science behind it, or what the brands try to sell it as, is that it's like compressing your muscles for better blood flow or something.
Okay.
Like really high waist, like Gymshark and things like that. They're so tight, and it's about like bracing your core and things like that. But then you start to think, but do I need that if I can train that in my posture and my biomechanics. I don't need a fabric or a legging to brace my core. I can do that on my own, you know, like shoes. We don't need cushioning. We have the built-in spring mechanisms in our Achilles already, so we don't really need that. It's just another one of those marketing things. And then we can also look at it from what that polyester is actually leaching into our skin. We know our skin is highly absorbent, so and they put a lot of finishes and like sweat wicking finishes and things like that on the fabrics, which ultimately we're absorbing into our skin,
Mm.
which we know is disruptive to the hormones and things like that. And if you do spend a lot of time in those in leggings and things like that, then it's gonna have some kind of impact on our overall health. So yeah, big into wearing more cotton, natural fabrics. I've switched to these tops that are like they've still got a nice fit. They still like like look
Yeah.
like normal sportswear, but they're nice and soft. They're cotton.
Okay.
And again, I've got some nice joggers that are cotton. So and they just feel more comfortable. You can just move more freely, which is what we want, right? We just want
Yeah.
to feel like we can move. We don't want this restrictive sportswear.
Yeah. It's really so it's so much in our environment is taking us from our optimal functioning. And it's really interesting how, you did describe how the sun gives you more energy and all of the ways that it triggers these hormonal cascades, etc. And the food we eat, and we're getting all the electrons from the light environment where our food was grown, all of those pieces. And how you also mentioned that our feet use the ground as a spring. It's not separate to the running. It's a part of the run. We
Yeah,
can't run unless we're on ground. If we were floating, we wouldn't be running, right? We are so nature. We are so nature. Like we are it.
yeah,
It's
absolutely.
like it's like a coming home experience, like doing all of these things.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Um a lot of people describe it as like biohacking, but it's really not. It's just remembering.
Yeah,
Going
yeah.
back and remembering what we actually are, you know.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, we are energy saving creatures, you know. We don't want to go out to a gym and work out 5 to 6 times a week. We want to conserve our energy, you know. That's what we do. It's for our survival and things like that. And we want to be in nature. This is the environment we thrive in. So when you just start thinking it about a more primal aspect of what we are as humans, all of these things just start to not make sense, you know, all of the things that we do. So
Yeah. Yeah. You said something earlier about melatonin, and I didn't know if that was like a typo. Did you mean melanin or melatonin?
melanin, yes,
You meant
melanin.
melanin. Okay, just so everyone knows, yeah. So literally the color, the pigment, but it has more of a function than just pigmentation, is what you're saying.
Yeah, like I'm obviously like every day is a school day, but I'm learning at how it like creates energy in the body. It's like I think they're using it in computer chips or things like that because it's like an energy generating molecule. And so the same goes for the melanin in our skin. It helps to generate energy somehow. Again, I'm still looking into this, but
Yeah,
that
yeah,
whole concept, right? It's just and it explains because I swear to God, when I'm outside and I'm exercising, I can just go for hours almost, you know, and I just don't get tired. And it's like, is it the light? Is it the sun on my skin? Is it giving me more energy? Is it the electrons from the earth because I'm barefoot? Like there's definitely something to this for sure.
yeah, yeah. And like we said at the beginning, it's really hard to know everything about each of, like we could look at melanin and talk about it all day, right? Someone could talk about fascia by itself all day. There's so much to this. There's so much we don't know. There's so much that isn't integrated into centralized medicine, into the mainstream health space, into the mainstream fitness and exercise space, into mainstream dentistry, right? Which just FYI to people, I'm a dentist. That's my day job. So there's so much interconnectedness between all of this, and there is so much to know about all of this that it's almost impossible to know all of it. But maybe we don't need to. Maybe, like you are doing, stripping back and just asking your own body.
Yeah, exactly. Allowing your body to speak to you. That is the key thing, not being clouded by everything else, and just all the noise as well. I find you can go on Instagram and the wellness space is so overwhelming.
Yeah.
And it's just tuning out to that and just tuning into your body, tuning into nature, and yeah, just being passionate about the things that you love and the things that bring you joy. And for me, that is movement and knowing more about the human body, and then how can I translate that to help other people.
Yeah. You know, one thing I've really noticed when I've been looking through before and afters of people who are doing more functional movement, the functional pattern page, um, primal movement, there's a whole space around that, is people are showing their facial profiles and how much their jawlines are improving.
Yeah.
It's mad. It's mad. Do you have anything to add on that? Because it being in the dental space, this is something that I want to bring. There are some appliances that are really that work in alignment with the body and don't force. And so, yeah, I wondered from your perspective, from where you come from, have you noticed that? And do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think a lot of this goes down back to the deep front line. So how our feet are fascially connected to our tongue.
Yes.
I always say to people the one of the first things we do in our like corrective exercise protocol is to work your way up through the body. So first feel the feet, then feel the deep core, so the spine bracing, the deep core in front of the spine, up to the fist, so keeping this arm strong. And then the last piece of the puzzle is the tongue and keeping the tongue glued to the roof of the mouth.
Hmm.
That's what helps to keep that strong structural integrity throughout that fascial line. And
Hmm.
then translating that to movement. So when we're movement, we're not, so many people I see when they're exercising, their mouth is open, they're almost like over breathing, like hyperventilating, they're breathing through the upper chest. Whereas we should really be closing our mouth, we should be keeping that tongue glued to the roof of the mouth to keep everything nice and strong in the body. And then that helps to keep the jaw in this nice, strong position. So it's not dropping like this when we're exercising, it's keeping that nice, strong position here. And then again, if we've got this deep front line
Hmm.
engaged, which is literally what holds the body up, it runs right in front of the spine and it holds our body up. So if that's nice and engaged, it's going to mean that we're going to have this nice position of the head. The head's not going to be doing this. It's not going to be falling off to the front. It's going to keep the head in a nice alignment here, which then keeps the eyes on the horizon line to keep us striving forward, basically, which is what we do as walking and in running. And then this again helps to keep the jaw nice and intact and aligned. So yeah, anything we can do to engage that deep front line, the deep core, will definitely help with the jaw.
Yeah. There you go, guys. It's also for all the beauty pieces as well. Like that's what it takes to have a beautiful face, right? It's that jawline, it's those strong cheekbones. I mean, I could go off on a tangent on mainstream orthodontics and what that does and all of those things. We won't do that. But even just as a basic place to start, and you can see you've got a beautiful jaw, you've got beautiful facial proportions, beautiful girl. Um,
Face and smile.
thank you. It's yeah, this stuff works. It works. Like you can see it. It's very obvious. Um, and you don't know until you try.
Yeah, that is the thing. It's yeah, it's life changing. I know that always sounds so cheesy, so cliche, but it really is life changing when you start to um get in touch with your body, listen to your body, understand what it really needs. It's yeah, it's really life changing.
Lovely. So let's start wrapping up. Um, I have borrowed the idea from Stephen Bartlett, The Diary of the CEO, where he asks the guest a question from the previous guest.
Mm.
And so our previous guest was a money coach. And so the question he left was, what is one aspect of what you dream your best life to be? And what are you doing today to achieve that?
My best life. Um, yeah, so this kind of goes back to, this is probably completely off topic, but goes back to what we were saying about just living minimally,
Mm,
stripping everything back. It is my absolute goal to have land that I can grow vegetables, that I can be completely self-sustaining, have animals. I love being in my garden.
mm,
This is another massive thing of my whole ethos and protocol is moving the body in different ways. And a big way that I do that is gardening. So just getting out in the garden, being barefoot, doing whatever down on the floor, digging, planting, whatever. So yeah, I love being in my garden. So that is my goal to eventually have that one day and just be more self-sustaining and yeah, not kind of tied down to all of these things that we unfortunately succumb to in society, like the mortgages and the bills and things like this. So yeah, that is my goal. And I think, what am I doing about it for it today? I think it's mindset. A lot of it is mindset. Like I said, it's being happier with less. I don't need all of these things. I don't need, um, you know, I don't need to have a diary full of plans each weekend and Netflix and all of these things, like, all of these comforts. It's just being happier with the basic things in life, the relationships, the nature.
yeah.
Um, yeah. I think that kind of answers it.
Yeah, beautifully. And so, what question would you leave for the next person? And it can be as random as you like. It doesn't have to be related to today's topic. It could be whatever you want.
Oh my gosh. Where do you see oh no, because maybe they're not going to be in the health and wellness space, right?
I have no idea who they're going to be. Yeah. I mean, you could ask a health and wellness question, it would throw them off.
Will people where do we see the health and wellness space going? Will this become mainstream? Will we be able to help people on a wider on more mass? Um, or is this something that people will have to constantly outsource, if that makes sense. It's quite
Yeah.
hard. It's hard to word. Don't
Yeah.
know.
So let me
Your
just make sure I understand your question. Um, so what I understand by it is, okay, so where do we, so assuming that the person is in some sort of holistic industry, which they will be because those are the people I talk to, um, where do they see it going? And in terms of, do we always need to outsource? Like, do we always need to find people like you or myself that are just in these tiny pockets? Or is it going to be so mainstream that it is integrated as part of society? Is that kind of what you're asking?
I
Yeah.
guess just because like I've had experiences where I've like been to the doctors and they've just had no idea kind of,
Yeah.
where I'm going. I've said I want to get off these meds and they've had no idea kind of why or what kind of the protocols that I was implementing. They just had no idea of those things. So it's kind of like I'm really interested in where this kind of space is going to go and how we can help more people on a wider scale. So yeah, hopefully that question kind of kind of sums it up.
It does. Thank you so much, Ashlie. I think you've seen my face being like, this is like magic to me. I've really enjoyed talking to you. I feel like I've learned a lot, things that I could go and implement today, which I will do. And yeah, I'm really excited to see how your journey evolves. Let us know, just give us like a few ways that people can connect with your work. Like, how can they work with you?
Yeah, so I'm at ashley.movementwellness on Instagram. So you can work with me via consultation, so that's what I'm doing at the moment. These can be online. I can work with you online, that's absolutely fine. Or I am Berkshire based in the UK if you live locally, or you can travel. We can get some sessions in together. I do have a bit of a protocol that I like to go through. Hopefully, this podcast has explained that a little bit. So I'd love to take you through breath work, through fascia release, corrective exercise, and then really thinking about optimizing our movement, so more functional movement. Um, so that's what I like to take people through. And then I'm also working on a program. So this will be a more off the shelf program where you can it will be like structured videos that will take you through basically everything that is in my coaching program. So, like the fascia release, the corrective exercise, and functional movement. So, it's just a very meaty project, but it's coming soon. It's almost there. So, yeah, that's how people can work with me at the moment.
Amazing. Love it, love it, love it. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm going to be in touch with you. And yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I honestly feel so honored that you asked me. I was really taken aback, but yeah, no, I've loved it and I love your work. So it's been so nice chatting to you.
Oh, yay.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a nice day. Have a good day.
So much. Speak soon. Bye.